If you've ever heard yourself say the words like, I want a different career, I'm not fulfilled in what I do, or I want something that has more meaning to it, and then you say, but I guess it's just too late, I'll just stick with what I've been doing, or I'm too old, or it'll be too hard, it'll take too much time, this is the video for you. My name is Megan, and I am a career and life coach for midlife women. And let me tell you, I have been there. And I guess you could say I've started over twice. Once in my 30s when I left teaching to become a nurse, and then once in my 40s when I left nursing to become a coach. So I've been there. I've gone through all of those mindset issues, if you will, that kind of keep you stuck where you are. And I think the last one that I mentioned, the nurse to coach, was probably the biggest leap, if you will, but it didn't happen overnight. So let's talk about this and see how we can help you change your mindset maybe in order to go from it's too late to it's possible. Before we dive in, I'm just going to remind you right now, please, please, please subscribe, like this video if you find it helpful. Leave a comment. I love getting comments. And just know that your subscribing just helps me more than you'll ever know and means so much to me. So the number one thing that women in midlife come to me with is career problems or wanting to leave their career or just being miserable in their job that they've maybe had for 10, 20 or more. Yeah, or more. Eek. 30 or more years. So I hear those words all the time. It's too late. It's too hard. It's going to be too much to start over. I guess it's just going to be like this until I can retire. Which, if you're saying this in your 40s, like you still have like 20 years left of work. And then in your 50s, you still have 10 or more years left. And in your 60s, I'd like to encourage you that the change is still possible. And there's some other ways to handle that when you get maybe closer to retirement, which we will talk about. So I think, like I said, the last leap I made from nurse to, and I say leap, it wasn't really a leap. Like I said, it didn't happen overnight. I think it was the one that gave me the most trouble, for lack of a better word, but like more hangups in my head than I did when I was leaving teaching to become a nurse. I think leaving something like teaching to become a nurse, it was pretty much a straightforward path. Like if I go to school and pass and become licensed, then I can get a job and be successful as a nurse. Like it was pretty much very little fear there. I knew there was going to be a lot of hard work in the middle of, going back to school and all, but it was still like, okay, I just have to go through the steps to get there, and I'll get there. I'd done it before, right? When I went to college the first time to become a teacher in my teens and 20s. So it's like I saw that path already, happen, and it's just a pretty standard outcome. As long as you're going to school and like passing. If you're failing, that's another story. But if you're doing the work, you're going to pass and you're going to get to do whatever that thing is. So, and just like teaching, nursing, there's usually always jobs available. So there was no fear around that either. I was like, okay, I'm going to get a job. So then, but come, this next change that I wanted to make from nursing to coaching, at first it wasn't clear. I didn't wake up one day in my nursing career and say, oh, I want to be a coach. It was really gradual, and I knew that there was something else for me out there. And I know that's what a lot of you feel. And so it became a process of just trying to figure it out. So this is when I really got into personal development and started reading the books and finding new podcasts to listen to, and just kind of like drinking drinking it all in, right? Like just like getting as much as I could. And so it was through this process that and from other, I did get coaching, and I did some other group coaching. I have some other videos that go more into depth of that transition, so I don't want to get into it here. You can always go back and look at those. But it was through a process that I finally kind of figured out what I could use my skills for, what my interests were, and narrowed it onto coaching. And actually, that is something I kind of turned into something you can get. I'll link it in the show notes. It's like a guide to your first steps to your next career, and it's really a simple thing that you can go through just to kind of get the wheels turning. I think one thing that's happening here for you is, like I said, I had already gone through the steps of getting a degree and getting a job. So going back to school, getting another degree and getting a job, I was like, okay, this is a sure thing. But sometimes moving on to a new career isn't just that straightforward. It's not like you're going to go back to school, get a degree, get a job. It might be, well, maybe the next one doesn't really need a degree. So what is the path there? Or it can be something like I did, where I was like, I want to have my own business. So that was an entirely new set of fears unlocked that came with that. So here's what I have to say. I mentioned, like, maybe when you get closer to retirement age, whatever that looks like for you, maybe you don't want to make like the extreme change, but you could do more of like a pivot. I have someone that I've coached, and she wanted to leave what she was doing, but didn't want to make an extreme change, but she was unhappy more like where she was. Long story short, now she has decided to basically take a step down because she's been at what she's doing for decades now, right? And many of you might be in that position. And she doesn't want more responsibility. She doesn't want to have to travel for work. She doesn't want to do some of the things that she loved when she was starting out in her 20s and 30s. Now, in her 50s, she's decided, okay, I like my company now that I'm with, and I want to take a step down. And she asked for what she wanted. She said, I want to do something where I don't travel anymore, where at 5 o'clock, I can just shut off the computer and not worry about any of it until the next morning when I go back to work. So, and that's what she did. And I know she's talked to me about some like coworkers kind of being like, oh, like what happened? Because they think maybe something bad happened because she took a step down. And she's like, no, this is what I wanted. I asked for this. And so I think that's opening up some of her coworkers' eyes that might be in the same position. They're like, oh, because it makes sense to like, I want to do less, but I don't want to make a big change. So let me just stay where I am and do something that's different. And I can kind of like take a step back and let the newer people go for the higher positions that I don't want anymore. So that's another option. And finally, I want to share with you a quote that I heard that I was like, yes, this is exactly it. I was listening to a podcast. I don't remember the name of the person who said this, and I don't even know if it was their own quote, but this is what they said. The only day you can't start over is the day you give up. So when you tell yourself, I'm too old, it'll be too hard, it's too late, I can't do it, and you can't. You've already decided. You've made that decision. So what if you tried now to go from I can't or I'm too old, maybe not in a day you're not going to be able to go to I can do it, I'm making a change, but over time you can say, okay, maybe I can. It's possible. I've seen other people do it. I can do it. So it's like there's some bridges between I can't or I'm too old to I can change anytime I want to. So that is, I guess, my motivation for you today is to start on that path of maybe I can make a change. And I think part of what has to happen here is that you don't get stuck in the soaking up the information phase, like I was saying I went through. You eventually have to start taking action. And that can be the scary part, right? It's easy to passively get the information and like educate yourself, but to actually turn that into action is where it can be a little daunting sometimes. So I want you to remember to start small. And like right now, What are you interested in? Just go do some research on those things. You have a phone. Oh, I don't have my phone with me. It's recording. You have a phone. The world is at your fingertips. You can do all the research you need on the phone, or just open up your computer and look on there for whatever you're interested in and just see what's out there. See what the job postings are, see what the requirements are. And then what do you need to do to get to some of those requirements? Not all. And what you'll find is as you gather the information and you start taking the steps of actually researching what you want to do, seeing maybe where you need to gain some skills, and you start doing things in that world, putting yourself into it, you will gain confidence as you continue to go through the steps. And one day you will wake up and go, oh, I can do this. I'm doing this. It's happening. And you will see that new thing right there ready for you. So I hope that helps you if you're feeling stuck today, frustrated, and are just wanting something different or more, and you're tired of showing up to the same place that literally kills your soul every day. So that's what I have for you today. I hope this helped. Leave a comment. Let me know your situation, or just let me know if it helped you at all. I would love the feedback. And that's all. All right. I will see you next time. Bye.